Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." But what if that darkness, once conscious, threatens to consume you? You stand at the precipice of a profound truth, a place where power and peril intertwine. This is not a journey for the faint of heart. This is for those brave enough to stare into the abyss within. For those who seek not just light, but the mastery of their own shadows. Welcome, truth seeker, to Legend's legacy. Many speak of embracing light, of seeking virtue. But few dare to speak of the formidable power dormant in your own darkest corners. This is the raw, untamed potential residing in what Jung called the shadow. It's the impulsive, the ruthless, the manipulative. It's everything society, and you, have deemed unacceptable. Yet, it yearns for expression. It demands to be seen. Is this darkness a curse? Or is it your most potent, untapped weapon? Imagine a battlefield, not of armies, but of wills. One side advocates for integration, for understanding the beast within so it no longer controls you from the depths. This is the path of Carl Jung. He beckons you to dialogue with your inner demons, to find wisdom in their primal urges, to transmute their destructive energy into creative force. He asks, can you truly be whole if you deny half of yourself? Then, another voice cuts through the silence, cold, calculating, unafraid. This is Niccolò Machiavelli. He whispers of utility, of wielding that very darkness as a precise instrument of power. For him, the shadow is not something to be integrated for personal growth, but a strategic asset. A tool to dominate, to conquer, to survive in a world where morality is often a luxury, and power is the ultimate currency. He demands, why merely understand your darkness when you can deploy it? Two titans. Two radically different paths to power, self-mastery, and influence. One says integrate your shadow, the other says weaponize it. But here's the unsettling truth. Both promise a form of liberation. Both offer a path to mastering the self and shaping your world. Yet, their methods are worlds apart. And choosing unwisely can lead to either profound self-actualization or utter self-destruction. Can you truly harness your dark side without letting it own you? Can you become formidable without becoming monstrous? This is the great question we will unravel. By the end, you will not just understand your shadow, you will hold the keys to its immense power and the wisdom to wield it responsibly. The battle for your inner world begins now. Why does this battle even exist? Because you were taught to be good. From your first breath, you were sculpted. By your parents, your teachers, your culture. They handed you a mask and called it a personality. Be nice, they said. Be selfless. Be agreeable. Every impulse that didn't fit, your anger, your ambition, your forbidden desires, was shamed, punished, and pushed into the dark. You didn't destroy these parts of yourself. You can't. You simply exiled them. You packed them into a psychological bag and slung it over your shoulder. This bag is your shadow. And with every year, it gets heavier. Carl Jung saw this process not as a moral success, but as a dangerous fragmentation of the soul. He knew that what we repress does not disappear. It festers. It gains power in the dark. It projects itself onto others, turning the world into a mirror of our own inner demons. We see the greed, the envy, the cruelty we deny in ourselves in everyone around us. Jung warns, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. But the shadow is not just a container for our vices. This is the critical secret. Jung believed the shadow also holds our greatest strengths. Your repressed aggression holds the key to your assertiveness. Your exiled ambition is the source of your drive. Your hidden nonconformity is the root of your genius. As Jung noted, the shadow is 90% pure gold. It is raw, untamed psychic energy, a wellspring of vitality, and that is where the temptation begins. When you are cornered, when you are betrayed, when your good self proves insufficient, you feel the bag stirring. You feel the immense, chaotic power waiting inside. The question is no longer just how do I understand this energy? It becomes, how do I use it? This is where the ghost of Machiavelli appears. Machiavelli was not a philosopher in a quiet study. He was a diplomat and strategist forged in the brutal, backstabbing world of Renaissance Italy, a world of shifting alliances and sudden violence. He saw what happened to good men. They ended up imprisoned, exiled, or dead. His philosophy was not born of theory, but of scar tissue. He saw that the world is not governed by how it should be, but by how it is. It is a theater of power. And in this theater, the man who refuses to use the tools of the dark is a fool, destined to be a victim of those who will. Machiavelli would argue that Jung's quest for inner wholeness is a luxury. Survival comes first. He laid it bare: it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. This single sentence is the cornerstone of weaponizing the shadow. It is the conscious choice to deploy fear, to manipulate perception, and to use the darker aspects of human nature as instruments of will. For Machiavelli, your shadow isn't a wounded part of you to be healed. It is an arsenal. Deception, ruthlessness, calculated cruelty, these are not moral failings. They are tactical necessities for anyone who wishes not to be crushed by the world. So here is the hidden problem. Jung offers you wholeness. Machiavelli offers you a weapon. One promises to heal your internal civil war. The other teaches you how to win the external one. And deep down, you know you need to be able to do both. This is not an abstract debate. This is the invisible architecture of your life. Right now, a war is being waged within you. When you fail to stand up for yourself at work, letting resentment build, that is the cost of suppressing your shadow. The Jungian path, if misunderstood as pure passivity, becomes a prison of niceness. You try to be the peacemaker, the good person. You bury your anger, your ambition, your no. But the shadow does not sleep. It leaks. It emerges as passive aggression, sarcasm that bites. A sudden, volcanic rage over something trivial. It manifests as self-sabotage, where you unconsciously torpedo the very success you crave because a part of you feels unworthy or afraid of its own power. This is the cognitive bias of projection in action. You deny your own capacity for ruthlessness, so you see it everywhere. Every rival is a villain. Every critique is an attack. Your mind creates monsters outside to avoid facing the one inside. Neurologically, your brain is burning energy in a constant state of civil war. Your prefrontal cortex desperately trying to chain the primal impulses of your amygdala. It's exhausting. You call it stress. It is the friction of a fragmented self. Now, consider the other path, the Machiavellian temptation. You decide to unleash the beast. You start seeing people as pawns. You learn to manipulate, to intimidate, to put on whatever face secures you the advantage. You get the promotion. You win the argument. You build a fortress of success. But the walls of a fortress are also the walls of a prison. You become isolated. You can no longer trust genuine kindness because you see the world through a lens of pure strategy. Love becomes a transaction. Friendship becomes an alliance. Your inner world, once a landscape of emotions, becomes a cold, silent chessboard. This is the cynic's prison. You are the king of a kingdom of one, and you are perpetually on guard. History shows us this pattern on a grand scale. The Caesars, the Napoleons, the titans of industry who let their shadow consume them. They achieve unimaginable power. They reshape the world, but they live and die in paranoia, haunted by the betrayals they orchestrated, unable to escape the brutal logic they imposed on the world. Their end is always lonely. Their legacy is a warning. Here is the truth you must face. You are not one or the other. You are the battlefield itself. The good person in you is terrified of your inner Machiavelli, fearing it will make you a monster. The Machiavellian in you is disgusted by your good self, seeing it as weak, naive, and destined for failure. This internal conflict is the source of so much of our modern pain. It's the anxiety of indecision, the imposter syndrome of feeling like a fraud, the quiet desperation of feeling powerful one moment and pathetic the next. The unseen consequence is this: you are living a half-life. Too afraid to be powerful, too proud to be weak. And this paralysis is the cruelest trap of all. The solution is not to choose a side. The solution is to declare yourself the ruler of both. This is the rebellion. It begins with a radical mental shift. You stop seeing your inner world as a battlefield and start seeing it as a kingdom. Your good self and your dark self are not warring factions. They are two advisors in your royal court. One counsels diplomacy, empathy, and connection. The other counsels strength, strategy, and survival. A weak king listens only to the kind advisor and is overthrown. A foolish king listens only to the ruthless advisor and becomes a tyrant. But a wise sovereign listens to both, weighs their counsel, and makes the final command. History is filled with rebels who walked this third path. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. He was a Stoic philosopher who wrote of virtue, duty, and inner peace in his private journal, Meditations. This was his Jungian work, a deep, honest dialogue with his own soul. Yet, this same man was a wartime emperor. He spent years on the brutal northern frontier, commanding legions, making ruthless decisions, and holding a crumbling empire together through sheer force of will. He was a philosopher who knew how to wield a sword. He didn't crush his aggressive shadow, he disciplined it and aimed it at a purpose higher than himself, the protection of Rome. This is the path of integration and deployment. So, how do you walk it? You need new tools. First, you practice shadow dialogue. Instead of pushing your anger, envy, or ambition away, you turn to face it. You treat it not as an enemy, but as a messenger. Ask it, what are you trying to protect? What fear is driving you? What do you need? Your anger may be highlighting a boundary that has been violated. Your envy may be showing you a desire you haven't dared to claim. Jung's genius was this. He taught us that by giving the shadow a voice, you rob it of its destructive, unconscious power. It stops being a puppeteer and becomes an advisor. Second, you master strategic detachment. This is Machiavelli's gift, refined. When faced with conflict, you must train yourself to create a moment of pause between stimulus and response. In that pause, you are not emotional, you are tactical. You do not ask, how do I feel? You ask, what is the objective? This allows you to access the shadow's formidable arsenal, its cunning, its assertiveness, its cold logic, without being consumed by its rage. You can be fierce without being furious. You can be strategic without being soulless. Third, and most importantly, you forge a code. A weapon without a master is just a mindless danger. Your shadow is that weapon. Your conscious, disciplined self must be the master. Your code is your non-negotiable set of principles. It defines the lines you will not cross. It dictates when you deploy your formidable side. Not for petty ego, not for revenge, but to defend your boundaries, protect your loved ones, or advance a worthy mission. This code is what separates a sovereign from a tyrant. It is the framework that allows you to be dangerous without becoming a monster. You are not meant to be harmless. You are meant to be formidable. The goal is not to be a sheep, nor is it to be a wolf. It is to be the shepherd, with full command of the entire flock, a fierce dog at your side, and a clear view of the horizon. You have journeyed through the darkness and the light, through the mind of the psychologist and the mind of the prince. And now, for the final truth. The struggle between Jung and Machiavelli was never about good versus evil. It was always about potential. Your shadow is not a stain on your soul. It is the unquarried marble from which your greatest self can be carved. It is raw, explosive, primordial energy. Without it, your goodness is hollow. It is compliance, not conviction. It is the fragile peace of a nation with no army, waiting to be conquered. Without a code, without conscious mastery, your shadow's power is a wildfire. It is the mindless force of a tyrant who builds an empire of ash and rules over nothing but ghosts. The ultimate realization is this: you are an alchemist. Your life's great work is not to destroy the lead of your nature, but to transmute it into gold. Your disciplined consciousness is the philosopher's stone. With it, the raw energy of your anger is transmuted into a passionate, focused drive for justice. Your ambition, once selfish, is refined into a vision that can uplift others. Your capacity for cunning, once a tool for manipulation, becomes the wisdom to navigate a complex world with grace and foresight. You don't defeat your dark side. You give it a higher purpose. This is the final freedom. Not freedom from your nature, but freedom to wield your full nature in service of what you choose. So, the question is no longer which voice you will listen to. The question is what you will build. Will you use this knowledge to construct a more resilient, authentic, and formidable version of yourself? Or will you remain a battlefield, paralyzed by an endless inner war? The philosophies of these great minds are not just ideas. They are a mirror and a map. Which path resonates with you? The integration of Jung or the pragmatism of Machiavelli? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story, your struggle, adds to this timeless conversation. This is Legends Legacy. We don't offer easy answers. We offer you the tools to forge your own. If you believe in this journey of self-mastery, subscribe to the channel. Join the rebellion. Now, listen to the final words of our two guides, echoing through eternity. Machiavelli, since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. Jung, I would rather be whole than good. The debate never ends. Your life is your answer.